Hello, and welcome to the Dad and Sons podcast. I am joined here. Dude, we don't have to introduce ourselves. You know who we are. Yeah, if you're on episode...
Do they... What? Yeah, that's a good point.
do you really skip ahead in podcasts? To just
do you go to work every day and you're like, hi, I'm Liam. Welcome.
Yeah. Just in case you guys forgot.
I'm here today with my colleagues. And then you just repeat everybody's name.
If work was a podcast, I guess. This is standard industry practice. I have listened to multiple podcasts, and that seems to be a thing that everyone else does, so maybe we should too? I don't know, that's the logic anyway.
Wait, this isn't a job?
No, come to think of it, this totally is like a part-time, Patreon-funded gig, sort of.
They would call it an albaito in Japan. This is definitely an albaito.
An alibi?
An alibi. Hey, it once was an alibi for me. Let's not mess around here. I can't believe that actually happened.
Yeah,
God
yeah.
Damn. Oh, good times.
I hate thinking about how much worse all of our lives would be if it weren't for this show.
That is a good point.
I get overwhelmed when I think back.
I'd be in jail.
Liam would be in jail.
It's so weird to think
I think that's
a very possible thing.
Well, I think like over the past year since coronavirus has happened, there would have been entire weeks of my life, at least 3 weeks at some point past year, where you guys were the only people I talked to for entire week-long stretches.
No wonder you're crazy.
I would have been even more crazy. I would have been more crazier. There would be less people to talk to through webcam chit chat and also like Discord internet chit chat in general. Liam would be in jail. Matt, where
I would be in jail.
Would there be any significant change in Matt's life though?
Man, I think I've went through so many changes in the past, like since I've had this podcast, that this is a nice podcast to keep grounded on. Like every week I had this.
Yeah.
It's a reminder of your youth.
This was the most consistent thing in my life for the past, I don't know. How long have we been doing this? 3 years?
Almost 4, damn.
4 years?
Oh, damn.
Yeah, but TOVG is a lot older. Like if you want to start counting the TOVG days, where
I feel like things were more consistent back then. But when we did when we started doing this, I mean, I moved during this. There are so many things that happened during this. You know what I'm saying? So like, yeah.
That's true. I mean, me and Matt, when we started this, we lived in different places. In fact, I have lived in 4 different apartments since this podcast started.
You ever like bother getting real intricate about the decoration or something? Like I feel like knowing that you're going to move out of a place completely deflates a lot of what Animal Crossing depicts as a fun, normal.
How can you say that when you've lived in the same place for like half of your life now?
Because up until then, I never bothered decorating, but now I like put pictures from my trips up on the wall. I had some nice cheaply ordered disc plates back when I was doing a sponsorship deal with them that are up in front of my linen closet wall. Whenever I'm folding the laundry now, I'm looking at beautiful fan art of The Witcher on the wall from displate.com/superbunnyhop.
I'm sure that link still works.
But yeah, I can't imagine feeling connection.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It depends where you live, right? So I lived in like 1 DK apartments, which is like the tiniest bedroom shacks, the bachelor pads of Japan, right? But now I don't live in one of them and I live with someone else. You know, I've been here for a year now. This feels like somewhere, it does still feel like somewhere I'm going to move out of, but the items I have are going to continue on with me, like a sofa and a TV and a table and a desk and, you know, the more mature things in life.
Yeah, I only want to buy 1 desk at a time as I go through life. Hopefully just 1 desk.
How old is your desk now?
Well, when I launched the Patreon for Super Bunny Hop, I bought myself a new desk. So I want to say 3.5, going on 4 years.
Damn.
I thought it was fancy maple wood, but it turned out to be plywood with like a maple wood tape thrown on top, and it's starting to fall apart, and I'm worried that I'm going to have to buy another desk whenever my stock portfolio blows up. I guess will be the next big event.
This hella hunky, chunky piece of wood that I have here as a desk cost me $30 from a secondhand store, and it's been going for 3 years. It's fucking.
That is the way to do it, you guys.
It is massive, though.
I told you boys on Discord, and I guess now I'll let the listeners know that I will be playing the Final Fantasy remake over the next couple weeks. You'll be hearing about that, not this week, but next week. And I got a crazy ass deal on that game.
What, free?
So, no, not free, but almost like $2.50 a month from a $26 1-year subscription pass to PlayStation Plus after they added that game to the March live lineup. You know, they call it free on PlayStation.
Basically free. It's free.
It's not free. Some rebel soldier got blown up by a drone so that oil companies would have access to his ancient tribal lands, so that some child laborer in China could use the oil to build the plastic in your credit card, so that every time you buy something for that cheap, it doesn't even feel like you're spending money at all, because they want you to think it's free. They want you to feel like it's free, but it's really not free. There ain't no such thing as a free lunch.
Oh, it's definitely free.
Oh!
If you already had PSN, you definitely already had PSN, you got a whole $60 game. A whole $60. That is the price of admission. That is the price of PSN for a year. You're done.
I found a deal on PSN for a year, usually $60, but I found one being sold for $26 on the incredibly reliable looking website cdkeys.com. But apparently everyone said that deal was legit and it's not a G2A stolen resell thing. But yeah, this is like... I'm
unsure about that.
I am unsure. In either case, this is, I think easily can be argued at this point, the most expensive game they've put on PS Plus this soon in its cycle. I think it's just under a year. How long has the FF7 remake been out?
Since last April, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This thing ended up on March, so that's...
It's definitely... It just came out after Animal Crossing, I believe. So
10 months in
it was
so
just
that's cool.
That's cool. Corona was really kicking off, I think.
I finally get to catch up on last year's game of the year.
Oh, of course I should know. It came out the same day Scrappers did, April 10th. I should know that. It came out the same day my game came out.
Traumatic flashbacks.
Oops. Oopsie daisy.
And you know how we keep our conflict of interests in mind here on the Dad and Sons podcast is that I remember hearing a lot more talk about Final Fantasy Remake than I remember from Scrappers.
Whoa. Keep that shit to yourself, son.
Whoa.
Well, but that's the thing, you know, when you have this platform of promotion where one must be responsible about the voice they project to a large audience, we must keep these conflicts of interest in mind.
Hey, look, Final Fantasy VII was my game of the year at the Dad Awards. Look, what do you want from me?
Was it?
It wasn't Scrappers. It was.
I think that's exactly what we want, because that just shows good sportsmanship within the industry.
It was. And I'm disappointed last week we didn't talk about the Final Fantasy VII interlude thing with Yuffie finally coming. That looked really good.
Yeah, Final Fantasy VII is a genre again. There's now a Final Fantasy VII Battle Royale coming out. There's a Final Fantasy VII remake.
What?
Matt, I actually think you might... Well, I don't know if you'd be interested in it unless it comes to PC. I can't remember if it was, but you should look at the Final Fantasy Ever Crisis. They're literally remaking every aspect of Final Fantasy VII, including Crisis Core and Dirge of Cerberus and every other goddamn Final Fantasy VII spinoff. And they're making it with like a pseudo-original art style... You know, like painted backgrounds with 3D polygonal models on top. And then the battle scenes cut into the graphical style of the remake.
It's a lot closer to the original PlayStation.
It's a weird package. Yeah, but when it goes into the battle mode, it's like PlayStation. It's like a Final Fantasy remake.
Which kind of sort of happened in the original PlayStation game.
A
where you have
little
these
bit.
Lego people
Yeah.
who turn into anime people. And it's funny. I think it's funny.
Wait, they're remaking the original game too?
Yeah, making the whole original game and
it's a remake of the remake.
Like,
it looks good.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
It's meant to be chapter based.
Yeah, the chapter-based mobile release is a kind of a red flag, but so far as like the trailer,
I don't know. Remake is chapter based too, I guess. So, have you been playing it, George?
I haven't booted it up yet, but it is now in the library.
It's because it's a free game. That's why.
Oh my god, it's not.
You don't boot up free games, do you?
You still have to pay money. Also, I realized, I had Control in that list that whole time. At some point, Control was a PlayStation Plus game, and I really ought to go through that thing. When you resubscribe to PS Plus, you do get the old games from your previous instant game collection back. So there were a lot of indie games that I also have on PC, and also some stuff like Control in there that I need to go play through. Anyways, hi guys.
Hey.
Hi.
Dude, I think I might get Ever Crisis.
Oh my god.
And replay, dude. It'll be. I mean, the thing is, once it's done, I'm not a fan of episodes, but
Well, that's the thing. It's going to be done in 2025. So by then, maybe there'll be no games left.
Mind. Yeah.
How many times have you gone through FF7 in the past like decade? Because I think
that's true. Matt didn't. Yeah, Matt finished it 3 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, you were playing the original with some mods,
and then you played remake.
Did I play with mods? No, I played. That was 9. I played 9 with mods. 9 had there's this mod to make it look make it widescreen with a little AI adjustments and shit. Yeah. I don't think 7 had any of that stuff, but yeah, it was dope. I like the way things are introduced in the original more, but I do like the new one. But the first disc, I wish they did the first disc the way the first disc was supposed to be done. I do like remake for sure, because what they did with it was quite funny.
As time goes on, I'm becoming more and more appreciative of remake than I maybe was in the beginning. And of course, it was the game I chose as my favorite game last year. But I don't know. There's just some, after seeing the interlude trailer with Yuffie and seeing that world become more of, soon enough, I guess remake 2 will be here. And then you're like, holy shit, this is a really big thing. And I've really enjoyed the combat in that game and mostly the story. Oh, and Matt, if you haven't seen the interlude trailer yet, one thing I didn't notice or click immediately, but then was pointed out to me, I can't remember where, maybe on Twitter or something, but our biggest issue being the cardboard cutout scenery in the background.
Yeah.
Now, remake is a PlayStation 5 from now on series. The Yuffie DLC won't come to PS4. And the backgrounds
better. Looking pretty
good. Actual 3D polygons, not flat PNGs in the background there.
Oh shit! Is it 60? It's 60, isn't it? Yeah, it is.
It is. It's a big upgrade. Well, it kind of looks it in the background. Character models on the PS4 version was still sick. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So, I mean, George, July it comes out. You're gonna have to finish remake by July, so then you can play as Turtleneck Bay Yuffie.
Is that going to be a killer app must buy for the PS5 though? Because I do maybe want to hold out for.
None of us are getting PS5s by July anyway.
Do you think it's going to stay short for all the way till July?
I can't get a graphics card. I can't get a PS5. I can't get anything.
There's no way. There's no way.
This is what I get for not caring. Now that I want it, now that I want one of these things, I can't get either of them. I'm just like,
I remember 3 years ago when I was building my current gaming PC. Even back then, it wasn't the same shortage, but people were buying up all the good graphics cards for Bitcoin mining.
Yeah,
I ate a bit of a downgrade on that. I got a 1060 instead of a 1080.
Oh, Well, not anymore. I remember shipping you. What was it? 2070?
No, that was the 1060.
Really? I shipped you a 1060.
It was a while ago. It was a while ago when they were still good.
Yeah.
Now it's starting to show its age.
Matt ripped you off.
That didn't rip me off.
Yeah. Oh, if it was in that Micro Center, then nobody had that shit. Yeah. I bought it with my secret sauce employee discount. So I saved a few bucks. Yeah.
Now that whole industry is taking a hit because Fry's is closing down.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, Fry's was garbage anyway.
It was a Micro Center competitor.
I don't even know what Micro Center is.
Big box computer store in America.
The one that Matt was at, right?
Yeah. They're like Fry's but better.
Man, this podcast is going so long. That was where Matt was when he started. I was like coming out of teaching.
Yeah.
To Japanese children.
All right. Well, like if we're speaking about my computer hardware starting to show its age, and also me catching up on games everyone else already likes that I am late to the party on. After hearing all the praise and the love last week, I did pick up Valheim and played it all freaking weekend. That game really it clicked in me, and all of my time just flew away.
Did you get to the second boss yet?
Not the second boss, and this is where I wanted to start telling my stories, because I feel like I have a much slower paced experience than everyone else. All right, so first boss I knocked out within like 3 hours extremely easily. I don't know if this happened to you guys, but for me, the second boss spawned like 30 miles away from home.
Yeah, same. We made a trip. It was like a hiking trip.
I made a huge trip. Yeah, well, I'm wondering if this is how it's intended. You read some clues and some runestones that say, thanks for defeating the first boss. Your next clue is deep in the Black Forest. Or I think they said your next boss is deep in the Black Forest.
It's what the crow says to you.
Mm-hmm. So I go to the Black Forest, and I find a stone that points me to the boss, and it's in a different Black Forest that's very far away.
Yeah.
So I ended up kind of misinterpreting how the game lays out the biomes, and I made a very, very long trip to that boss without knowing what I was doing, and ended up building a second base as a little mining outpost in a biome that had high-level enemies that were one-hit killing me. And it was a good 15-minute sprint away from the home starting base where my big important like metal smelting buildings were. And then I find out at the end, after making this 15-minute trip many times, that you can't quickly teleport your metal items. So I spent, like, out of the weekend of playing Valheim, the entire day Saturday was making runs to and from a very, very dangerous area with enemies that were killing me, trying to nail this loop that ultimately wasn't worth the trip, when I realized that Valheim actually wants you to not go that far. Yeah, the second boss did spawn very, very far away, but Valheim places the biome that has some of the resources and the metals to get to that boss a lot closer to your home base than that. And I ended up spending untold maybe like 10 hours stretching this process out that I couldn't have any other case. But by the time I finally got a portal network set up to cover that distance, it felt amazing. Like, I really get sucked into holes sometimes in high level areas and high difficulty challenges, where when I'm playing a game, I don't just want to complete the goal, I want to complete it under the most arduous, difficult circumstances possible. And I
was this solo?
I tried to get the multiplayer going, but it's a little tricky. Like, it's all password protected.
Yeah.
You either join through someone's friends list or through a password protected temporary.
And you have to be playing at the same time if you're the one running the server.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It is possible to set up a dedicated server, but not right now for me. It's not. Yeah, I tried kind of opening it up with the password out there, but couldn't get other people to see it on the list.
That's because your password is insane. They probably were getting the password wrong. The password was insane, George.
I need them to be insane. If my passwords aren't insane, then that means people will have a less insane time guessing them.
Mine was just fruits, like apple, pears, banana. No one ever got in.
In the age of machine learning, whoever wants to figure out a password can have a machine go through the whole dictionary in a second.
Too deeply on a password.
It is like a fun, elegant refining of what is a very established formula. It does feel a little more derivative than I think I was like ultimately ideally hoping for.
Derivative of what?
The Minecraft survival loop, something that I am a fan of. Other games that I've played that I
it's a survival
love so
game,
much.
So it's gonna have aspects of other. So I mean, they're all kind of 10 a penny these days, right? Valheim's really friendly to the player, and I think that's why so many people are drawn to it. Because survival games have always been some sort of, like
painful,
enticing genre, right? It's difficulty that people can get into, but they are painful, and the idea is to punish the player, and the player is meant to survive. Whereas Valheim's like, hey, bro, take your time.
Yeah,
looks pretty.
Food is not necessary. Food is like buffs your health and stuff like that. Like it's an incentive to eat.
I like that because like you start out with something like a cap of 25 HP, and then after eating 2 good cooked food items, that rises to 90. Like that's a difference of like almost 5 times, like 4.5 or something.
So like a meat, a tail, and a berry.
And it's not overly complex where you're making like recipes and shit, and you're like, maybe I'll have 60 HP if I cook myself a fucking curry. Like it's not overwhelmingly complex either.
Yeah.
I appreciate that actually, because I want to eat, but it is a simple way of making you want to eat. But you are going to need that later on. I don't know if you guys reached the plains and the swamp biomes, but there are enemies in there that one-hit KO you. And that's, I think
what armor do you have?
They were chewing through the armor, and I'd have to.
What armor do you have?
I at the time I encountered these enemies, I was wearing either rag or leather armor.
Yeah.
And then after these enemies, I can now upgrade to better stuff. The difficulty curve ramps way the heck up if you get to these biomes, and I think that's one thing that's happening to me is that I'm playing a harder loop than other people because I accidentally made my second home way too close to these high level areas where you are going to have to eat food. Otherwise you'll get one hit by the mosquitoes flying around these places. I kid you not. There is a mosquito enemy that will one hit you unless your belly is full of food with some clothes on your person. Turns out I did not need to go that far because the relevant biomes are placed closer to home. And unless you do that thing I did, it does walk you through the loop a lot faster than some other games. There was not as much downtime until I Georged myself into a high level area.
Yeah, we didn't build our home next to that portal. We went to a clearing, built it like some nice romantic area so we can wake up together.
That's cute. You want it next to water. I like how they want you sailing across the whole map like in Minecraft.
Yeah.
And one of the revelations I found out when I planted my second home on almost another continent was that it's actually way faster to just run across the land.
Yeah.
Some situations. I made one run back and forth to my mining base by just kind of pointing the boat in one direction and then going to the kitchen and making dinner. And when I came back, the boat was halfway there.
So, I've been playing a game that I've been waiting 6 years for.
Whoa.
But it didn't come out on the one I wanted it to come out. It didn't come out on PC. So I gave up.
You gotta wait harder. Wait harder.
Nope.
Be a patient gamer.
I have no patience. 6 years, dude. 6 years I waited to play this game. So I was like, you know what? I want to play this. So I grabbed it. It's a PlayStation Hits. So it was like $20. I've been playing Bloodborne.
I feel like I've played Bloodborne with you before.
No.
Is this actually your first time through Bloodborne?
Yeah. So
Oh my
the
god.
first time I played Bloodborne, I bought it, right? Way back. This is years ago. I played like the first area and be like, whoa, what the fuck is wrong with this fucking FPS? It's so shitty. And then I got robbed.
Oh yeah,
with the Bloodborne inside of it. And I just never bought it back.
Oh no.
Hell fucking yeah, though.
Yeah. So
I'm all ready to talk about this.
Yeah. So Bloodborne, my God. I wonder why I like their spin-off games and I don't like Souls games that much. Their spin-off games are so much like Sekiro and Bloodborne are so much more, I don't know, has like that special sauce. And the Souls games feel so plain compared. And not to say Souls games are bad, it's just like it's like missing that sauce. I just love seeing them do something different. It seems. Seems like it's nice. It's not like the Death Stranding types of games where they're going off of the code, the Metal Gear and they're making like weird games. But this is nice, man. The voice acting is actually quite weird too, which is I really wonder how they localize their games, or is it made only for English people? Is there like a Japanese Dark Souls and Bloodborne and all that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, they're made by Japanese studios, so it all the story starts out in Japanese for sure.
Right. So it's Japanese first.
Yeah. Dark Souls 3 came out like 2 weeks before it came out in the West, in Japan.
The way they do the voice acting doesn't seem like the regular localization. Like this is like it reminds me of like a Haikyuu and Agresco, like they change it based on, I just don't see the same type of twang, coming out of a Japanese person.
As I recall, Sekiro was in Japanese in all the markets, right? Like maybe they.
Yeah, it did have English voice acting though. You could turn on.
But yeah, that's the samurai era. That's fine. That works. That's different from Bloodborne.
Maybe they changed the writing to reflect the setting because this is supposed to be like Western and Victorian. So
yeah, it's good. It's good. I like Bloodborne.
Bloodborne's fantastic.
So
Bloodborne is
good.
Is like the game really of the generation.
It's so good.
So how far did you get in your first run 6 years ago when you got robbed?
I'm like first boss. Didn't get far at all.
Yeah, that's like opening area. So the big furry beast.
The big furry beast, yeah, the cleric beast. I didn't get a chance. I bought it this weekend, but I didn't get a chance to really play. I played a lot yesterday for this podcast. I was like, all right, time to sit down and play this game for real. I got all the way up to, I just beat the three
the
dudes.
Yharnam Guardians.
Yes,
Ghosts of Yharnam.
dudes.
Ghosts of Yharnam.
Ghosts of Yharnam.
Gosh, what a
I
cool
have
name.
been destroying this game. This game is not as hard as Sekiro at all.
No, it's not.
It is so easy compared. I don't want to say it like that. But like this, it's pretty.
Yeah, in retrospect, maybe.
No, Sekiro it was difficult. This game is not that difficult. I beat the old Guardians.
I'm with you.
Yeah, the old Guardians, I beat them first try. All you have to do is literally sit back, kill the samurai first, and then go to the other one, then go to the other one. Once you kill one, it's a lot easier to handle 2 enemies than 3. You know what I'm saying? Like,
funny how this works, because when it first came out, Bloodborne people had a real hard time adjusting to the lack of a shield.
People had a hard time with Bloodborne for the reason why I really like it, which is Bloodborne is the antithesis to Dark Souls. It rewards aggressive play.
Yeah.
It's why I suck at Dark Souls, because my impatience gets the better of me. Whereas Dark Souls players are, passive, waiting, shields, parrying. Whereas Bloodborne is straight up like, we will give you health back if you attack. And you're like, okay then. And you just risk everything. But it rewards you for doing so. And I think that's why I like Bloodborne so much. Alongside, I think the combat is much more enticing to me.
Yeah,
like the gun
switchable
parry
weapons
and everything. Oh god, it's so good. The gun's done.
fucking weapons,
it's great.
Fucking flipping shit,
and how you can press the transform button in the middle of a combo, and it will turn into an attack instead of just the transform.
I was playing this game. I was like, man, From Software knows how to make fucking games, man. Sekiro was good, even though it was fucking hard as balls. And this game, I was just like, damn. I was like, damn, why are they been making Dark Souls this whole time? I was like, this is what they should be making. I was so it like grabs you in. It grabs you in and it holds you. It's just like, yes, this is the universe that we're making. It's like, oh, and I going through the Snake Forest and shit, and the way they set that up to make you feel like at every turn there's some fucking snake. Yeah, it's just like
a password.
Yeah, fucking.
I love the environmental storytelling in Bloodborne. Like I think that's also at a high point of the series when you have memorable, interesting characters who stick out in your mind just from one line like that. The password.
You open a door and he's dead.
I remember that guy, password guy, having a fairly interesting backstory explained in the item descriptions that matches up with the revelation of the door creaking open and he's just a skeleton, and how there are cutscenes mentioning password guy in between the line if you read the subtext of the cryptic written lines. Like, it was nicely striking that balance. I kind of got the feeling with Dark Souls 2, but liked it better in Bloodborne, where I was actually able to comprehend the story as I went through it.
Yes. And I think that's part of why I like it. Is like there's a lot of talking, and like it's not just so abstract as the Dark Souls series. Like, where you just like, what the fuck is going on? You know, you just play the game just to play the game. This one,
it hits the balance.
You're knocking on people's doors and they're talking about the hunt and all this shit. Like, get away from me! You think I'm gonna open the door in the time of the hunt? This is like
that's what they say. That's how they sound.
The way they cackle, the way they laugh, like it's just the way the enemies talk to you. Like,
creepy old English.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just like there's so much to it. It's good. And it adds that scariness because those lamps are very far. That's where the difficulty is. The lamps are very far apart sometimes. If you gotta explore everywhere to make sure you open up those ways to get back to the lamp.
Yeah, it's definitely not as interconnected. I mean, the starting area is really interconnected. In very Dark Souls kind of manner. But in terms of the whole game, it's definitely not as interconnected. Means that, you know, opening shortcuts and getting back to lamps and stuff like that is not as easy as it is maybe in Dark Souls to get to bonfires.
You're going through whole areas.
Yeah, exactly, right.
And you're just like, okay, where's the fucking lamp? Because I have 30,000 souls that I do not want to lose.
I need to bank this shit.
Yeah, because like the stuff that I die to is like me not knowing what's gonna happen. I get stuck on some type of fucking wall or some shit. Like, yeah, I get stuck on some gravestone or whatever it is and just get mauled by like 20 dogs or some shit like that. Like that's the stuff that kills you. The stuff that you just cannot guard from, you know, because you don't have a shield. And why are you gonna use a shield anyway? Wooden shield.
There is a moment when that game gets hard for me. And I can't remember exactly where it is, but it's definitely after you pass basically the Gothic areas, and then you go through the forest. And what's the Thunder Beast called? Is it the Pale Beast?
Yeah, I haven't reached the Thunder Beast yet.
Maybe it's the Pale Beast or whatever it's called. This fucking pseudo wolf.
The one with the pendant, screaming all the time. That guy. Like woman?
Maybe, and he summons like thunder and electricity and stuff.
No, I haven't fought that one yet. Yeah, that's gonna.
Oh god, I should totally know who.
I can't remember. Is it the Pale Beast? I can't remember who that's called. People are gonna be screaming right now.
Are you talking about the Ice King on top of the
the ice
castle?
No. Oh yeah, no, you're right. That it's like around there when you get to the freaking the icy, snowy place where it gets a bit difficult.
Canehurst was the name of the castle.
Canehurst, the freaking castle.
Oh man.
Dark Beast Pearl. That's who I'm thinking of.
Oh yeah, that guy is hard until you learn the tricks.
The
I
Blue Lightning.
can't believe, like, of all the games to come out this whole gen, that's the one so far that I think I like have memorized to an obsessive level.
I love the heck out of it.
With Dark Beast Pearl, you want to get behind his front paws.
I think I might actually buy the DLC for this thing.
The Old Hunters DLC, Matt, is fucking hard.
Yeah.
It is tough. I actually think some of the DLC for Bloodborne is some of the hardest, like, From Software stuff that exists.
Really?
Yeah, that game's pretty tough.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm in for a Sekiro. I like how he.
I still think I like Sekiro better.
Yeah,
but it's hard.
Where literally you do not have to think about attributes. You just like get like weapons and shit.
I can't get over like the combat in Sekiro is like it's a masterpiece. Like Bloodborne is so much fun to play, whereas Sekiro is maybe not fun, but it's so satisfying, right? Because once you get to that skill level where you understand what you're going to do and the skills, I feel like with Sekiro and what I said when it came out is that, you know, I felt personally like I wasn't getting bullshitted like I do in Dark Souls because I was inputting and executing those skills like I would a Bayonetta or a Vanquish or something like that is going to respond to what you want, right? I felt like Sekiro was that flexible and malleable in its combos, and once you learn how to do those things, you're like some sort of ninja samurai god. Whereas Bloodborne is still a bit like Dark Souls, but it's just more fun because you just fucking stun everything with a gun, switch your weapon, and just cane it in the head.
I feel like it's faster. The motion of your character is just better. In terms, not better. I shouldn't say better, but different in a way of like everything is quick. You know, Dark Souls is a very slow pace, just like and you like you have your shield and you're shooting, and I feel like Bloodborne is definitely in between the whole Sekiro and Dark Souls. Like it's in between there. Yeah. Like it's not completely like the same.
I definitely prefer both of them to the Souls games personally.
Sekiro, like I feel like it's a game where you can't just pick that up again. You know, you can't just pick that up. For me, I can't pick that up again. I have to relearn that game again because that's like muscle memory.
Yeah, that's what I mean, right? Like it takes that skill.
Because the posture damage and everything.
You need to learn everything. Whereas Bloodborne is that pure fun. You just jump in and you're like, fuck yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Like, because the posture stuff, man, on some of those bosses, I keep thinking about the boss on top of that tower. Both of them. There's two of them. You know, where the guy starts doing the lightning attack and stuff like that. And it's just like, what? What are you doing? No. And it's so hard to see where you're supposed to duck under. You have to roll with faith. You know what I'm saying? To dodge that attack. But it literally is. You have to dodge with faith. Like it's nothing.
I feel like we're just one parallel timeline away from the Dark Souls series being described as like games where you roll with faith.
Yeah. I like it. And this is
Bloodborne's excellent.
This is like the first game that I actually understand the skill of the stat system. Like I understand how it works.
It's a little simpler. There's slightly less room for builds there than in a Souls game.
I'm
Blood
okay
Tinge.
with that.
Blood Tinge is the one you want to ignore for now, but pay attention to for your replay. You'll find some Blood Tinge weapons kind of later in the game that are tied to the stat. They're really, really fun to use, but your first playthrough, you should not.
I'm holy blading right now. I'm doing.
Yeah, of course you are, Ludwig.
Yep.
Yeah, big.
Yep.
Paladin.
That shit's too strong. That shit's way too strong.
For your replays, check out the whip. The whip is really fun. It doesn't do
that's my favorite. The chain whip is amazing. I love it so much.
It doesn't do super high damage, but if you like love that dodge and like a nice smooth attack animations, the whip is a blast.
I would like a scythe and stuff too. That would be nice. But I haven't got any of those cool weapons yet.
The cane is amazing. Oh god, all the weapons in that game are brilliant.
I really like the hunter axe, to be honest. I would have went to the end of the world with the hunter axe, but
the hunter axe is how I first played through. The hunter axe is easily like the go-to safety weapon.
Yeah. Super safe, dude. Super safe.
So I think at this point in my life, I'm conceding that I think I play games for environmental art as maybe like my number one or number two concern over combat. I play games more for environmental art over the combat, and I think that's why Bloodborne is at the top of the list for me, is that I find it the most beautiful of all the Soulsborne games. Like, it nails that whole thematic motif of them exaggerating what Japanese people would think looks cool in Western architecture. That Anor Londo idea where you're walking around as a tiny small ant of a whole city made out of giant stone cathedrals is like Bloodborne from beginning to end. The game does a lot of really cool things with classic kitschy Halloween tropes that seem corny and childish. Even in something like Valheim, the skeleton warriors look a little cartoony. In Bloodborne, if there's like a witch or a bat or something, they're disgusting. They're dripping in goo. They're cackling with some kind of guttural, blood-curdling noises. Oh, the art and the aesthetics of that game really stimulate me in a fantastic way. Every Halloween, I play a few hours of Bloodborne because of how it nails those Halloween aesthetics.
The way the clothes move, the blood drenched
clothes
as well.
Oh, it's so good.
It's real. It's tasty, dude. It's tasty.
The art team in that game just had an absolute love affair with Gothic, Victorian, vampire hunter, classic horror, Bram Stoker.
I remember with like my second month in Japan, I went to Osaka to watch a Japanese metal band called Deer and Grey play in their hometown. And I remember going to Space Station in Osaka. You know Space Station, don't you, George? The gaming bar.
Oh, yeah. Now, exactly know what you're doing.
I remember having my mind blown because the dude who was drinking there was the guy who was in charge of the Blood-Starved Beast's fur. He was like the visual effects artist for the fur for the Blood-Starved Beast. And that blew my mind. That was like my second month here in Japan.
Fur, flowers, grass.
I want to say something though. The one thing I absolutely hate about this game is the frame rate. What?
Yeah.
So it's still bad, huh?
Is that? What the fuck is that?
I mean, it's still 30.
Dude, so supposedly they call it frame rate pacing issues or some shit like that. I don't know what the fuck that means. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that means. But listen, like it's bad and it dips. If you're on the original PS4, it dips below 30. No doubt.
Oh, quite frequently.
Yes. It's so ridiculous that I'm still able to play. Like, it doesn't affect me too much when it comes down to bosses and stuff like that. Like, when it matters, which is quite interesting. Maybe the game was built around its issues. Maybe I've just been getting lucky until it gets really hard, and then I'm like, oh, I fucking hate this frame rate. It's bad, guys. It's bad. I don't understand how this. I don't understand how people don't complain about this. It's really that bad.
I mean, they did. They did at the time.
People still love this game, but it's like the frame rate is almost unplayable. It's almost there.
It's still better than launch. Like, it's got to be better than how you remember it, at least, right?
I'm still just holding hope that we'll have that 60 frames Bloodborne upgrade PS5. That would be sweet.
It is not better how I remembered it. It's not. Even the person I was playing with, she was like, my eyes hurt. Like, is there something wrong with the... I was like, yeah, it's fucking jittering. It's the frame rate going. She's like, I thought it was crazy. I thought it was crazy because I have my laptop that I've been playing on there is like a nice 144 hertz monitor. So when she looked at that, she was just like, oh no. no. And she doesn't play like that. She doesn't know monitors. She saw that shit. That's how bad it is. When regular people, regular gamers, just regular games can see that shit, are not into monitors and getting the best, fucking milliseconds and shit like that. When they can realize it, it's bad.
Maybe that's the solution. Maybe that's how we can get all the gamers to stop bickering over the small minutiae of frame rates and resolutions. Instead of the minutiae, let's test the normies. If the normies notice it, only then are you allowed to complain.
I'm comparing it because I'm a little bit of a monitor snob, but like, I just want a smooth 30. That's all I want. It's a smooth 30. Like, I'm okay. I'll play 30 FPS games. That's fine. I would like my 60, but just a smooth, stable 30. That's all I care about.
There's so many mid 2010s era pundits who are furiously typing up comments right now. I can hear them.
Well, they can type all they want. The frame rate shit.
So you're saying that you love eating shit is what you love eating your 30 frames per second.
I am dealing with it because the game is good. And I want to upgrade my weapon one final time to see how much damage I can get out of it.
Stay away from the procedural dungeons. Oh, what are they called? The deeper dark dungeons, the chthonic dungeons, the underground.
Like the chalice dungeons.
Chalice dungeons, yeah. That's the one part of this game that is not actually fantastically built as a sublime masterpiece of video game. The one part of Bloodborne that you do want to ignore are the chalice dungeons. You don't got to do those.
Oh, really? So
yeah.
What are they?
They're procedurally built. They kind of have a dice bag of Bethesda-style dungeon chunks that it snaps together. And you can tell the level design of the beautiful to look at, beautiful to play. The whole point comes out from really great level design, and that's just not there in these dungeons. The reward for going through them is not worth it at the end of the whole process. There's some story stuff locked behind there that you're better off reading on the wiki, is kind of the gist of the Chalice Dungeons chunk of the game.
Yeah, I'm good. I'll play the main game. Play the main game. Yeah.
And don't sleep on the DLC either, of course.
Yeah, that's tough.
If you do decide to go with the more exotic weapons on your playthrough, the DLC also has the options to complete that.
Yeah, I want that blade. I want the windmill blade thing.
Oh, and there's also a giant wheel that you can stomp people with if you go with exotics. You just smash them with a wooden cart wheel with spikes on it.
What the fuck?
Good time. Man, you're playing, what was it? Last time I think I got this excited when you were playing through Deus Ex.
Mm-hmm.
You're playing through some of the best games ever here.
I expected you to be more excited, to be honest. I thought you were gonna scream a little bit. This is excited George now. This is
I drank my coffee an hour ago. It's still morning for me. I gotta.
I should stream these things because
you should try and stream Bloodborne.
I talk a lot of shit
because then the frame rate of Twitch will match nicely.
Just to show my playstyle on these games.
Shared experience.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, we've gone on for a while, and we still got more. More.
I wanted to dive in and just say, well, Loop Hero finally came out.
How's the full game?
Great. That's it. I haven't really...
That's it.
What was great is my demo progress carried on over into the full release. Always nice. I still haven't beat Sans, the first world boss, but I tell you what, I'm learning more every day in that game, and... it is good. It is very, very good. And I'm starting to see, you can see some Twitter threads and Resetera threads about people really starting to unravel the pieces of this game and how pretty insane it is. I just can't stop playing, man. It is a hell of a good time. I've been asked to play Valheim a few times this week, and I've just kind of been like, I'm gonna play Loop Hero for a bit instead. And then I play Loop Hero for 2 hours before going to bed. But I haven't progressed really more mechanic-wise compared to the demo. So I'm hesitant to be like, oh, well, it's way better than the demo, because it is exactly what the demo was, really. But I'm having a great time, and it's still a great game. Definitely one of the best releases so far this year. I can't wait to play more. Yeah. I wanted to play some tonight, but I didn't finish work until really, really late. And then I was like, damn it, it's podcast time already. But I actually might wake up early tomorrow so I can play it.
Does the basic gameplay loop get any different in the full game compared to what we did in the demo?
So I've started noticing that the more you unlock, I have unlocked like the herbalist and I've unlocked the smithy, and I start with gear faster. I can last longer because I have like health potions and stuff now, which changes what your sort of goals are, right? You start learning about the different resources that you can gather and how you get them, right? So if you want to unlock certain things or upgrade certain houses or huts, you'll be like, okay, I need like this precious metal and I need 10 shitty metals to make one precious metal. So I need to make lots of mountains, and then I'll focus on putting things closer to mountains that output mountains, like the treasury or chrono glass, whatever the hell it's called, those things. And then you start learning about the intricacies of putting certain tiles next to other tiles. And I'm definitely starting to learn more about the actual world composition that you build. Like laying lots of the same tile next to each other means it sort of transforms over a while. If you lay lots of grove tiles next to each other, yes, you're going to spawn like lots of werewolves, but you're also going to grow like a really big marsh that gains more resources and treasure and all that kind of thing. There's a lot of like hidden details in this game that I don't think people have really figured out yet, or I'm seeing, but it's definitely enticing.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
I got to give it a try. There's a demo. I think I have the demo.
Yeah, definitely try the demo first because, I've definitely bumped it up to ×2 speed now because I just want to go through the loop, get some resources and do stuff and then optimize that kind of thing. So yeah, I definitely think you should be speeding it up a little bit. And yeah.
What is the goal? What's the goal of this game?
To rebuild the world.
It's interesting.
Rebuild the world.
You don't get like new weapons or anything like that, right? It's not like an RPG.
It's you do, like, there is an RPG. It's just you don't control the combat. You kind of control the map design. Your hero automatically adventures through.
Oh, really? Interesting. That's why you put it on 2x. Yeah, I want to sit through stuff I can't actually influence.
Like I've heard it's closer to Factorio or the Zachtronic games.
It definitely becomes like about optimizing and gathering resources just in a really unique way where you're basically protecting what is your little digger. It's awesome.
Yeah, I like Lemmings. Your character's already set on a course for destruction. You want to build some ramps to steer them away from the worst of it.
It's good stuff.
Okay. Shit.
Big fan. I'm enjoying it.
I wanted to mention, am I saying this right, Liam? Haikyuu? Am I saying that? The volleyball anime?
Yeah. Haikyuu, yeah.
Haikyuu.
Yeah.
With a Q. There's some anime dubs that are just a step above. And this is one of them.
You're a big fan of the old dubs, aren't you?
Yeah. See, I watched this dub and I was just like, I was very impressed. Like, just like, whoa, okay, wait a minute. They like nailed some of the characters really well. And then I watched Demon Slayer.
Kimetsu no Yaiba.
And that dub wasn't as good. And it's made me appreciate how much, like, how on point Resco and Haikyuu is. It's like, it's pretty fucking dope, man. Like, the point that they change the dialogue to kind of fit, the audience.
Oh,
yeah.
It's pretty freaking. There's something about anime like this that's just it's comfy. It's relaxing to watch, an inspiring volleyball team with some cool, moments of hypeness. It's lame at some point, friendship and togetherness, but it's fun to watch, man. That's all I'm saying. If you want some comfy, that might be something to watch right there.
What is Haikyuu about?
This is a volleyball anime.
It's a volleyball manga, essentially.
Yeah.
So sports. They're following sports drama.
Yeah. I like sports anime. I watched all of Prince of Tennis, and if you know how many episodes those are, you would be like, what the fuck? Prince of Tennis was super dope. And at the end, it got ridiculous for people who ever got to the end. It got ridiculous, and I love it for it. So I'm expecting the same for Haikyuu, which probably won't happen, but I'm expecting the same.
And I'm looking it up. I see it's about boys volleyball in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
there's some girl volleyball in there, but yeah,
volleyball is huge in Japan. It's big. It's a big sport.
Really?
So yeah, volleyball, especially female volleyball in Japan.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's really quite
well, you can't just say it like that. I mean, Japan has
no, but like you think of
train
Japan
cards
as
dedicated to only women. So like for a reason, like you can't just say
but like in terms of sports, like male and female sports are maybe not reflections of each other, right? Like
okay,
Japanese males are good at baseball and soccer traditionally.
Okay,
women in Japan tend to be playing either softball, tennis, or volleyball, which is quite popular. So a lot of Japanese women who play volleyball are actually some of the best in the world. Also, Japanese soccer team, the women's soccer team in Japan is actually has been quite a successful team in the past as well. But volleyball is quite a big sport in Japan. People don't realize like baseball and volleyball in Japan are massive.
Jeez, I'm watching some of their games now.
Like their serves are like
ridiculous. Holy
yeah,
shit.
It's crazy.
Damn, the anime is actually like legit the same shit. What the fuck? I never thought to look it up, but yeah, I'm watching these Japanese players in the World Cup, and Yuji, monster of vertical jump, like the guy jumps really fucking high and slams it down from like half court. Jesus Christ. All right, anyway, sorry. I got lost in the volleyball, so I'm going to have to watch that later. That's nuts, man. That's freaking nuts.
So I've never got into Haikyuu, but I remember very clearly when I moved to Japan, two things were like the big things. Of course, like now in Japan, it's Demon Slayer, right? Kimetsu no Yaiba. But two things were massive when I moved to Japan. Yokai Watch and Haikyuu. And Haikyuu was the big anime at the time. It was like the first series based on the manga, and it was fucking everywhere. It was everywhere when I moved here. And then it sort of, I think it went on hiatus, and then most recently they brought it back with a new season. But yeah, like it was massive.
Yeah, they take long breaks. I don't know if we're gonna. I'm on season 3 right now, and there's 4 seasons.
Yeah, so season 4 just came out like last year, I think.
Yeah, like last year, like all of last year. It's like episode every month or some shit like that. It was weird. Yeah, there it is. Haikyuu, volleyball anime. It's good. I like to watch it every once in a while, just like before I go to sleep. You know, just like I did with Mushishi.
Sit back and slap some balls.
Slap some balls. Everyone loves to see that.
Oh,
jeez.
Yeah. Haikyuu.
I also watched an anime about boys.
Wait, what?
You watched an anime?
Yeah, I watched a 90-minute
Bible Black?
No. You know, I would be like, oh, I know what Bible Black is, but it's 2021. I feel like everyone listening at this point, everyone knows what Bible Black is. I watched an anime that sounds not that much better at first sight. It's called Saint Oniisan. Okay. And it is a similarly lightweight, soothing, slice of life, feel good, comfy bedtime anime about Jesus and Buddha being roommates living together in Tokyo, who are lightly gay-coded friends. They go on cute little dates to Tokyo Disneyland. They attract some gangs of troublemaking Majora's Mask bomber style kid miscreants who shoot them with rubber band guns, but miraculously the rubber bands snap on their way to their targets around Jesus and Buddha whenever anyone's trying to mess up their days. There's some Yakuza gangsters who follow them around with a comical amount of devotion, and a lot of like pleasant chuckles happen. Like a lot of the jokes will be these cute little pleasant chuckles that happen after like a good 3-4 minutes of build up. And a lot of the jokes, I don't want to say necessarily land all the time. A lot of it seems to have gotten lost in translation, or maybe it falls flat on the original intended artist too. It's hard to tell sometimes. But the ones that I at least did get a good chuckle of were jokes that involved them going on crazy thrill rides at Tokyo Disneyland, which they call Tokyo USA Land. And when they look at their pictures from the roller coaster after they get back, everyone is shouting with their arms in the air, except Buddha, who's like got his hands together and has an extremely stoic, calm looking face. There's also jokes about just how chill of a roommate Jesus is. No matter how much shit you try to give this guy, no matter how frustrating and annoying you try to be, he'll look back and say something like, "Your greed and evilness has truly made my life better. Thank you for being a part of it." Yeah, it's cute, laid back, funny from how ridiculous of a situation it's depicting in the first place is. And you know, I enjoyed myself even if it didn't land all the time, all the way, totally. It was interesting seeing what a situation like that's borderline edgy, offensive, sacrilegious humor in the West is like feel good, PG rated, fun for the whole family, like comedy about chill, nice, pleasant dudes in Japan in anime form. It was fascinating.
Sounds nice.
Yeah, it sounds so interesting. What the fuck, Jesus and Buddha?
Yeah, definitely interesting. Like even though we weren't chuckling throughout the whole way through, there were some good laughs in the beginning and the end, and then just pure interesting the whole way through.
I like the art style. Looks nice.
One of the things that I thought was really, really funny is that I never noticed how long Buddha's ears are until this anime. I went back and like Googled that. I was like, why are Buddha's ears so long? And as it turns out, statues of Buddha have long ears this whole time, and I never really noticed. There's some gags involving the hair, like the Buddha hairstyle that you see on the statues, where it's like kind of matted, like a quilted textile pattern almost, that I guess also might stick out to you more if you grow up around statues of the guy your whole life since childhood. A lot of fun Japanese pronunciations of the biblical terms. There's a Yakuza guy who asks like how Jesus got out of jail for just 3 days and where they pinned him up, and he replies with like Gorogaturu for Golgotha. And the other thing is that Buddha, have we been pronouncing Buddha wrong this whole time? Because in this anime they say Buddha. They make sure that the H in Buddha is pronounceable and hearable. But
I don't know.
I've always heard it Buddha as if it's Buddha rather than Buddha, like they say in the anime. Buddha. It's almost 2 words, Buddha.
Buddha. It's probably just how the katakana is pronounced. Are you watching in Japanese or dub?
Oh, it was definitely Japanese. This thing did not officially get a Western re-release, or a Western release at all. It's like Thermi Romai. Like apparently it's fairly popular in Japan, but a lot of the humor, I guess, is just so hard to translate that I doubt we'll ever see it in official capacity. But yeah, this was a fan translation that I don't think was too diligent about explaining every single thing for the audience, because there was a lot that me and my buddy just did not understand.
Who was the Jesus and who was the Buddha out of the two of you?
That actually might be a fun dimension of watching this that I hadn't considered before. Is maybe that's like a fun discussion that viewers of this are supposed to be going through. Like, I'm Jesus. No, you're not. You're Buddha. Like chocolate and peanut butter on BoJack Horseman.
I don't know what their personalities are like, so you'd have to tell us who is Buddha and who is Jesus here, George.
Well, they're both comedically chill about everything that the stresses of Japanese life in Tokyo throws at them, and that's where a lot of the humor comes from.
Okay, so that's definitely me and Matt then.
Between the two of them, Buddha is supposed to be obnoxiously thrifty. He will freak out if he finds an end of the day grocery store sale.
So that's you.
Yeah, but I wish I had these guys chill. Jesus is a little more loose, a little more wild and outlandish. And when they ride on the roller coaster, he's throwing his arms up with the rest of the guests.
Aw.
That sounds like Jesus.
Matt's probably Buddha, I want to say. The quiet, collected one of the two.
No. That's what you know me as on this podcast. And
he's a deviant in real life. An absolute deviant.
Some people will definitely disagree with you over here.
Oh, well, George, are you going to finish it?
Oh, yeah, there's not much to go through. Thankfully, it's just 120 minutes right now. So I technically did finish Saint Oniisan. You know, I didn't read through the manga like with Thermi Romai, but I did see the whole 2 episodes they stitched together into a 90-minute sequence, basically.
Fair enough. Well done. You finished something. Congratulations.
We'll be right back after a quick break.
Sonic the High-Speed Hedgehog is back in the fast lane. By day, he runs rings around the world. But when night falls, things get a little hairy. Sonic Unleashed. The difference is night and day.
Welcome back. Hello. We're here to talk about some news this week, and the stories that I have for us, thankfully, aren't quite as big as last week. The big news story seems to be the corroborated rumors coming out about the intended, implied, the analog of what would be a Switch Pro. This has been a big rumor that's been circulating around pretty much over the course of the entire lifespan of the Switch. But now it seems like the rumors are starting to come out of more authoritative sources. Bloomberg posted a story citing people familiar with the matter. That triggered some other outlets like Tom's Hardware to come out with other stories from information they were supposedly sitting on that they now feel comfortable releasing. Yeah, Switch Pro, apparently, according to these media people, is actually in the works. This information comes from the supply chain of LCD and OLED displays. The source in question is Ross Young, a co-founder and CEO of Display Chain Consultants. They're saying that Samsung has started an order for a manufacturing run of some 7-inch 720p resolution OLED panels, which would match up with the supposed plans for the Nintendo Switch Pro, whatever they're going to call it, having a 7-inch screen, 6.99 inches technically. The presumption is that there's also going to be better battery life and also a 4K ultra high definition mode for docked gameplay. And that also comes with the kind of implied, read between the lines assumption. I'm just going to leave it as assumption right now, that there will also be more processing power in the Switch.
That's the only way that's possible, right?
Right. Unless they're upscaling, unless you're getting a fuzzy pixelated 4K, which that scale I can tolerate.
It's definitely going to be that. It's definitely going to be not native 4K for sure.
So maybe don't expect native 4K. Maybe don't expect a huge cross-gen. I did read one comparison saying that it's going to be closer to the Xbox One S than it is the Xbox 360 if you want to make a metaphor with a home console, which sounds fine, I guess.
What do you realistically want, though?
I don't think we can expect that much.
I would just like to play Breath of the Wild in 60 frames and upscaled 4K. I'd be fine with that.
I would like more current gen ports that, like a real Resident Evil 7, for example, not the cloud version.
Why though? When you could play it on other, I don't understand why though. This is what I'm trying to say. Why would you want to play what still would be a subpar version of Resident Evil 7 when you actively have already played it and can play it on other platforms? When Nintendo have been doing a lot of their own stuff on the Switch, that could be improved, right? Or you could be like, okay, whatever Nintendo's doing next, think about, Bowser's Fury that just came out, very nice looking game, but, it's like the frame rate dips and
right.
You can do a lot more, especially when there's big Bowser. Like, that's what I want. What I want is Nintendo to bring it out and retroactively patch everything if you own one of those, so then you can play those games in 60 frames. That's what I want.
Is this common practice now? We're shipping games with frame rate dips? Is this the regular? I thought consoles are supposed to be perfect.
It's not that they're shipping with frame rate dips. It's just that that's the power of the Switch, right? But we've seen actively with the leap from Xbox One and PS4 to PS5 and, Series X, we've seen these patches that come out and then make games, have 4K textures, have better frame rates. Like, I think about playing Forza Horizon and stuff like that, playing that on the Series X compared to, whatever version existed prior to that. It's like apples and oranges, completely different things. And I feel like this is not maybe that mega of a step, but the idea that if you purchase the Pro, you can have this better version of Breath of the Wild or Mario Kart or something like that. Games that already stylistically and, art directed in a certain way to get the most out of the power, but then have actually like this boost would be super cool.
The point is, what I'm fairly sure is a common sentiment, is that at this point in its lifespan, compared to the competition, the Switch does seem kind of underpowered nowadays.
I mean, it was underpowered when it came out.
I was very, very impressed when it came out.
I was impressed by what it could do, but it was still underpowered. You think about what... we were just talking about The Witcher 3 and Bloodborne. And yes, Bloodborne has dips, right? But you compare it to other games that came out in 2013, and then the Switch came out 4 years later.
For as impressive as those examples are, there are other examples like Resident Evil 7 that show the Switch not being able to keep up there. And I feel like they would have to do something, but at the same time, I don't know if I'm ready to throw the Switch out and spend $400 on a whole nother generation either.
I think I would make the upgrade if Nintendo are like, and it launches day one with a patch for these games. And now you can run these games in up to native 4K in better frame rates. Like, Breath of the Wild is an incredible game, but it does suffer from technical limitations, right? Yeah. Frame rate dips all over the place. There's a lot of pop-in. It's quite muddy in places. You sharpen that shit up, and you have a better, just a quality of life experience. Like, I would easily play through all of that game again.
And I guess I'll have to see it to believe it. But I'm also wondering if the switch over to OLED is going to make handheld mode a little more viable for games. My big peeve, once I finished getting so impressed with it in the first place, was that a lot of games aren't optimized for handheld mode. If they have small text or busy environmental artwork, a lot of stuff can get hidden in there. And
yeah.
They're still sticking to 720p, and I have seen some takes saying that's not that bad, but ultimately I think I would prefer a bump for text.
So some people were sharing that, even at 7 inches with an OLED screen, like the actual pixel resolution, the DPI at that size at 720p is as representative as like 1440p, so there's not really much point going up a higher resolution at that size, supposedly.
Right, and I get it. I know the implication. The implication is that artwork and still life is going to look fine. The problem is with text, with video game stuff, UI things. A lot of the games that end up on Switch do not either resize their UIs or support a high enough resolution for you to be making out some of those small details. Yeah, the transition over from LCD to OLED will help the viewing angles. So OLED will be a little brighter and crispier, but I don't know if it's going to manifest in like a big substantial improvement like that I
must buy.
I don't know if you could do a hardware upgrade that would make the text in Stardew Valley bigger. That's almost a problem up more to the developers than the hardware. Yeah. Switch Pro. Apparently, that really is going to be a thing later this year. Supposedly scheduled around September, October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I could read the story, but it's under a paywall on Blueberry.
Fuck you,
I see that you pasted it.
Fuck
this
you,
is so
Jason
weird.
Schreier.
I mean, I get it. I'm not going to sit here and complain that they're doing subscriptions now to some of these sites. I'm not going to sit and complain. It's dying that, they need money somehow. Yeah, I get it. It's only $2 a month. It's not that bad.
Are you gonna pay it?
But I'm just not gonna read the article though. I'm not just not gonna read the article.
Well, hey, you wanna know a cool George tip?
Yeah.
You open up a private window in a different browser, and that'll reset your cookies back to 0.
Aren't you a journalist? Like, you can't be taking money away from your people. Like, what are you doing?
We're talking to the pirate emulator over here. He's not gonna care.
No, like it technically counts as research skills. In the university, they teach you how to bypass the paywalls on like JSTOR for research article websites. So when you want to learn your latest statistics from Science Journal magazine, instead of paying the $4,000 institution fee, you type in your university's password, or you would be surprised at the amount of college professors who encourage their students to get on the Pirate Bay for their textbooks instead of the university bookstore.
Yeah, shit's expensive.
If you want an article, a lot of times, and it's behind a paywall, if you email the author themselves, they'll send it to you for free sometimes too. I mean, that's more work than that, but yeah, no, it's a thing. Everyone involved in journalism and academia and research does not seriously expect you to buy the paywall all the time every time.
I mean, listen, I am no stranger to Pirate Bay. I'm no stranger. Back in the day.
Do you guys pay for now?
Yeah, I do.
They made it easier.
I don't think I've ever personally paid for.
Okay. Now that we finished getting off the phone with all our Adobe lawyers that we have on call in the
so much trouble.
Rolodex under the A section, we're just gonna quickly shove all of that back into the desks and the secret part of our desks where the drawer has a lock on it, and do listener questions instead.
Yay, the best people.
In case you haven't heard of it before and need a reminder, we take listener questions from our inbox at dadandsonspodcast@gmail.com. If you are a Patreon subscriber for $5 a month, you can also get priority by asking your question in the Patreon channel. We're going to be going through both this week, starting with a guy named Raj A. Raj A says, I recently played through Res Infinite and was only liking it up until the final level. The last level of that game, I think, belongs in a museum. If the rest of the game was that good, I feel like I would have loved Res rather than simply liking it. What games have you played that have specific parts that are massively better than the rest of the game, so much so that you wish the whole game was like that? From a design perspective, is this the byproduct of inspiration outside of the intended creative vision that comes later in the development cycle?
This has happened a couple times. I just can't remember which game it was last year.
Yeah, it's definitely not something I don't think I can remember. There are games there that
do that.
Definitely have given like great first impressions, but then do something not so great afterwards.
Or there's like a level that's completely different from the rest. I remember mentioning it on this podcast, but I can't remember which game it was.
Titanfall 2's like time skipping level
is
so different to everything else in the game, and that's amazing. But the game is still great. But yeah, that is like an outstanding level though.
I also want to point out that I did a video about the canning level in Edith Finch, where you control a hero going on an adventure with one of your hands, and in the other one of your hands, you're controlling a miserable, repetitive, robotic job of slicing fish up on an assembly line. And you got to make sure your character doesn't daydream so hard that they toss their hand in the machine while they're distracted.
I can't wait for the comments of like, oh, it's Assassin's Creed. No one wanted to play Desmond. Everyone wanted to just play the good part, where he's an assassin.
Oh, you know what? We were just talking about FF7, and I am of the opinion that the 3 Final Fantasy PlayStation games have much, much better disc ones than and disc 2 and 3 tended to be.
Yeah. First disc was quite sexy. Yeah, I'm looking through these games. I guess I haven't put down everything I've played this year, but I don't see which one I'm talking about.
I really liked Bravely Default until it made me play the entire game again when I thought it was ending.
Oh my god.
Not a fan of that.
Not a fan of that either. When I heard that, I wrote it off.
Not a fan.
I wrote it off. I never talked about this, but when I was on that trip for work last year, I played Octopath Traveler. I played a bunch of that game during that day. I don't think we ever talked about it. I played a bunch of that game. You start to realize how like it's fun like for the story of that character, and then you have to stop that story and go to another character, and then stop that story and then go to another character, and there's like this difficulty curve that happens to get to the next chapter, and it's just like what are you guys doing? It just made me stop. I got all the characters and I was like, I have to grind in order for me to have a good time here. I think for that, the closed story for each character was actually quite interesting. Well, not all of them, but some of them were quite interesting. But everything outside of that was just like, it kind of sucked. Kind of was a generic RPG with grinding, heavy grinding.
I gotta say that I'm typically, in most Resident Evil games, my funometer starts to kind of plateau and maybe go downhill when it does the final act thing where you go to a sterile medical laboratory bunker and the enemies turn from nasty surprises that you see around a corner that shock you into kind of spammy shoulder to shoulder packed hallways that are there more to eat into your ammo than make you feel spooked and immersed and scared. Resident Evil games tend to start really fucking strong and then plateau towards that third act.
But I think that's different from the question. I think that's just like the normal thing with games, right? They start really good and they end really like shitty, right?
Res Infinite is an exception.
Well, he's talking about like a specific stage that's just it's like almost another team made it. That's completely different. That was like actually like
Dark Souls 2 is something that I did a lot of talking with the fans about last week. Mm-hmm. And there's moments where I feel like Dark Souls 2 gets it is I think the underrated black sheep of the series because it has fantastic levels next to very ugly, poorly designed connecting hallways gluing them together.
Damn.
Like I really like the design of a lot of spots in that game. I think the Dragon Airy is a highlight of the whole series, but a lot of people will not look past the really shitty elevator on the way up to completely different levels way earlier in the game, because those first impressions matter so much in a video game, you know?
They do, and that's why the start of games tends to be the best in a lot of places.
I want to point out that Res Infinite is a case where that last level almost, if I recall correctly from the development story, was built from the ground up for VR as a demo, whereas the rest of Res Infinite was built as a VR version of the currently existing Res. So there might also be a case where more creative energy and a completely different creative process went into that last level than the rest of Res Infinite.
I mean, yeah. Think about Tetris Effect as well, right? Mizuguchi, and Tetris Effect's last level is also the best level. So,
oh, Legend of Korra.
Oh, Legend of Korra did that too.
The last level
Platinum
is the best level.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that game bad though?
It's bad. It's bad, and I played through it the whole thing. The last level though was classic Platinum.
Yeah, and Platinum, they do tend to be the exception. Platinum games do tend to have really, really hype final bosses and final levels.
That's how I like it, man. That's how I like it.
You guys want to move on to Thomas M's question here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Do you have an emotional connection to a piece of media that is the result of something happening outside the creator's control? For example, maybe Birdemic is a movie that'll always make you feel relieved because it was the first movie you watched after getting a university graduation. Perhaps the climax of Lord of the Rings happened while your neighbor's car was on fire, and now every time you watch the movie you feel anxious because you remember your neighbor's car being on fire. Can you think of any video games, films, books, etc. that fit this mold for you?
Loads.
Loads. Yeah.
So many.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is life stories right here.
Right. Like your life experience is connected to some of the stuff that you grew up with.
So many. Yeah.
Like Oblivion. I remember like having like, this is back then before I got medication and everything for periodic paralysis. I would have rolling attacks. And during this time, I played Oblivion on my bed the whole time for like 3 days straight and beat all the DLC, everything. And it was like my escape from my prison of my body for those 3 days. And it was great. It was fucking great.
So you like feel like it's liberating?
Yeah. During that time, yeah. This is before medication and all that type of stuff. But yeah, I fractured my foot and I played Paper Mario during that whole thing.
I fractured my ankle and I played Hearthstone until I got to Legendary and quit because it was so stressful. But I remember that time.
When you guys play these games ever since for the rest of your whole life, do you now remember the feeling of the fracture?
I remember Xenoblade Chronicles 2 because that was when we started Dad and Sons. I remember that very clearly being one of the first games I talked about on our test episodes that we did before we started the show.
And it's become a running joke ever since.
Yeah. I remember playing Mario Odyssey during a really rough time I was having. That came out then. And I very associate that. I don't know if games is so much because I feel like games is a dedication, right? Whereas music, for sure.
Yes.
Like music is
absolutely
like so powerful. There are songs that take me back to just like a nostalgia trip of like, even like I listen to, of course I've talked about like Korean rap and stuff on the show before, right? But I talked about that like 3 or 4 years ago. And now I listen back to those songs and I think about where I was in Japan at that time, what it was like and like who I was with. Because Japan changes so fast and so quick that even that feels like a nostalgia trip to think about even then. And I think music is really powerful. There is even YouTube videos that give me that feeling, I think.
Yes, watching through.
Oh, gosh. Oh, that's creepy for me.
Yeah, it sucks because I used to watch a lot of JonTron. And I think it's weird as fuck. But like for games, for me, like it was a form of an escape. So it's always fond memories when I think about those games, like Oblivion, Paper Mario, and all those games.
Yeah, man.
I don't think of like, oh, my foot was broken and blah blah. I don't think of those things.
No.
Like, even though I really liked Oblivion during that time, it was like during that phase in my life, it just was the perfect game to play. If I play it now and it sucks balls, I'm still going to say it sucks balls. Like, I don't have some attachment to it like that. But that's just the way my brain works in that instance. But music, I think I've said this before, like my playlist, I leave it the way it is. I add it to that playlist of whatever is going on in my life. It's like kind of like a whole phase. You know, when I first started, it was kind of when I started this podcast, and the way my music tastes have like gone bouncing around and changed in that white chocolate playlist that I have on my Spotify.
White chocolate.
We are your
playlist.
white chocolate.
Yeah.
I have to ask. I have to. What is your white chocolate playlist, Matt?
It's just it's just my main one, my main playlist. I have other playlists, but that's like my main one that I put like default.
What is the first song on White Chocolate?
Why the name?
Down Girl by Roy Woods. That's the first song. I don't know why.
I don't know what that is.
I don't really either.
Roy Woods is pretty good. At least his old stuff was. He sounds like a little bit like Michael Jackson sometimes. But yeah. No, it's just I name all my playlists like I don't know, like smooth caramel. You know, just like sweets and food.
So your passwords are fruit. Your playlists are sweets.
Yeah. I'm a very simple guy.
Do you guys have smells being imprinted into your video game associated memories?
No.
Mm-mm. At least I can't think of one. I can't think of one, yeah.
When I was growing up, Ocarina of Time for the N64 is one of my favorite games ever and one of the most precious childhood memories ever. And when I was growing up, I remember the smell of the N64 fresh out of the box with that new plastic smell. The game cartridge also came fresh out of the box with the new plastic smell. And I played it like nonstop for the next 2 weeks until I beat it, and I was smelling that the whole way through. And now whenever I play Ocarina of Time, ever since, it's been 22 going on 23 years, I still smell that smell whenever I play Ocarina of Time. Like, especially the first 3 dungeons before you finish off Jabu Jabu's belly. It just reminds me of what 1998 smelled like. And 1998 to me smelled like a fresh new N64 with that new plastic smell in a new house my mom had just moved into. Like, that game might be one of my favorite games ever, and it might be so hard associated with childhood memory because I felt like when I was playing through it, I was immersed with like new things. Everything was new. And new smells.
Yeah.
I vividly remember the smell of that toxic factory plastic.
Blowing the cartridge. Everyone's nostalgic about that. That's like a classic.
Oh yeah, you would put your face in them too, so you would know what the smell was like.
Yeah.
NES cartridges, I don't remember had as much of an odor to them compared to N64 cartridges.
Yeah.
Like N64 cartridges had a flavor. I remember Super Nintendo and NES cartridges being kind of flavorless.
What is happening here?
Oh, George was deep throating these cartridges.
How'd you find these things?
Nowadays, you don't got to blow on the cartridge anymore, so they added a taste additive to them instead. I wonder though if what I was smelling might have been a because you weren't technically supposed to blow on them. That was actually bad. That's worse than dabbing them with rubbing alcohol, which is what the manual always said to do ever since the 80s. And I'm wondering if they added a smell to the N64 cartridges to prevent kids from doing that, even though I vividly remember that smell. Yeah, and then Majora's Mask came out a couple years later, and when I was playing through the water level in that game, I had a horrible headache and a stomach bug. And that water level has a lot of blurry underwater, cyclical, running around in circles around a video game fan sort of puzzle challenges that made me nauseous and dizzy, and it made my sickness worse. And now it's 20 years later, and I get a little bit of a memory of being nauseous and sick every time I play that water level again in Majora's Mask and the Great Bay Temple.
Wow.
Even the Super Smash Brothers level will kind of remind me of being 9 years old and horrifically sick.
Maybe my memory is just going. I'm an old man.
It gets worse with every year, my friend.
It gets worse.
You gotta hold on to those with diamond hands, baby.
Yeah. Start using. Oh man, so many things start to go downhill after 30.
Yeah.
Liam's like, yeah.
I'm starting to feel it.
You don't feel it right at 30. You start to feel it like 31. You're like, something's a little different.
Well, I'm almost 31. Yeah, I'm like almost 31, and everything was falling apart after I turned 30, and so I'm just dreading the rest.
Yeah. When we get 40, we're just like, oh man, my back aches.
My back.
Back aches. Yeah, man.
10 more years. 10 years until those days. Arvidas, which I probably butchered, asks, do you think kids should be getting access to games at a younger age? As a citizen of a former Soviet country, I found that getting a PC in my teen years was somewhat beneficial to my basic PC knowledge and today's skills in internet usability. I understand how to install programs. With newer market spaces, it should be even easier today, but people are still struggling what different settings should mean, as in Windows giving you most errors and settings messages only in English, and the dictionaries were not helpful. Thanks to Age of Empires, I know how to use a mouse, something that I found very strange in today's younger kids who take ages to use a mouse. With Google Docs, it is quite easy to do your homework, but now it is hard to make children organize their documents in the drive, something that I learned fast when the older, less than 8 gigabyte hard drive of mine was filling up. And let's not forget language. No way that you could learn language in the early 90s and the 2000s as easily as you can now. The only thing that we got was how to pronounce the, and that London is the capital of Great Britain. So that's some interesting perspective. Different situation in different part of the world.
He knew you were going to butcher it.
Arvidas doesn't sound...
yeah, it says it right here. Let's hear you butcher this.
Arvidas doesn't sound that bad. I don't know how.
So he's talking about computer literacy, right? But then he starts to complain about young people. And I feel like complaining about younger people who do things in a different way is like how people complained about you learning how to use a mouse and a keyboard at a young age. Not exactly something productive. I don't think kids have to stop what they're learning, tablets and using more touch devices for working and learning how to use Google Docs to do homework. I don't think you stop them learning that to take them back to basics and be like, here, child, learn how to save a document locally and then do a backup and put your your folder hierarchical structure. I don't think we necessarily need to do that, but I do think we should teach computer literacy as early as we should with other subjects, right? Why the most vital thing in human civilization outside of, the bare necessities of life is, computer engineering and AI and how we're moving forward as a human race with that in tandem. Not teaching kids, I think, is very irresponsible.
Yeah.
It's coming from a very different perspective than what we know. Like, this is someone in a post-Soviet country who was really first able to come into contact with computers in an affordable way in their teens. Someone who had to learn a foreign language to get to use them. And someone who might not know that when we were growing up in the 80s, kids were getting access to games at a young age. And this is also someone coming into that from that millennial 80s perspective of associating computer skills with what used to be more technically demanding pieces of equipment than what kids are growing up with nowadays. Kids get computer literacy by default. I think kids get more linguistics education siphoning into them through the default pop culture nowadays than in the 80s and 90s because everyone on social media is talking to each other all the time.
Yeah.
Though your software will try as it might to automatically translate things into English, that still, I think, will help kids learn about idioms and homonyms and borrowing words and how different linguistic grammar can change the thought of the message drastically.
I tend to problem solve quite well at work and stuff. And I feel like a lot of that was learned through video games. And it's the weirdest thing to think about.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too.
Like just a lot of little things. Yeah. You learn from video games.
It's procedural. Like video games teach you how to play the video game by necessity. So I do wonder if it's like changed the way a whole 2 generations of kids grows up thinking about things when they have to do it methodically and procedurally.
Yeah.
Systemically.
When you're just sitting around or whatever, it's not the same thing. It's like you're playing a game that challenges your thinking constantly. Some of these games can really take you out your comfort zone.
I love it when a game can visualize a real world problem that's hard for an individual from their first person point of view to visualize. That's why I have such a fascination with the town builder genre. Is it like you can get a hands-on, mechanically interactive, responsive system teaching you how stamping down a subway station in the middle of a quiet residential suburb without a police station nearby may increase crime levels if the taxes aren't adjusted so that the rich people aren't in that neighborhood. Like a lot of political problems about economics and urban development are what I bet kids have greater literacy on nowadays than when they're growing up without it.
Liam and George's sex toy play? What?
Oh yeah.
Did I miss
So
something?
our RVDus threw in a post note.
Don't be jealous.
Saying
I'm a little
postscript.
jealous.
It was a real delight to hear Liam and George's sex toy play. Hope to someday see real dad and sons action again. Yeah, Matt, when you weren't here, Liam and I went through a list of video game items.
That's
and
right.
video game power-ups and video game weapons and equipment, and tried to see which one of them could be a sex toy in another universe.
I hate that I wasn't here for that. I hate it so much.
Quickly, before we leave then, Matt, what is the Jabberwocky? Is it a sex toy or an item in a video game?
That's definitely an item in a video game.
George straight up thought it was a sex toy.
It could be. It's a common word. It's a piece of like Lewis Carroll poetry.
And it was...
I mean, I would love to get a sex toy called the Jabberwocky, no doubt.
Man.
Or was it Wabba? I can't even remember. It was...
Oh my god. Bloodborne is a gold mine for this stuff. Threaded cane? Come on.
I
Threaded...
think one of them was from Bloodborne. Or was it Dark Souls?
Logarius's wheel. That's something that you install in the room.
Ludwig's sword.
Ludwig, yes, I like it. Clever. I don't know if the Tonitrus sounds like a sex toy, but it certainly looks like one.
Oh, that definitely does.
Oh, it even has like the little electric motor in the top and where it like flares up into the ball shape. Yeah.
Flares.
for easy removal.
Oh my god. Does it have a plus and minus on it?
I see a spot in the handle where they could, but not all the way there.
Liam is giving us the signal. Liam's giving us the wrap up single.
Liam's gonna yawn himself out of here.
Wrap it up, kids.
Wrap it up.
Before you invite someone special over to enjoy your Tonitrus,
your holy blade,
your switch hammer.
How about this Christmas you give the gift of Dad and Sons alongside your Tonitrus?
If you would like to pay money in exchange for goods and services that help out the Dad and Sons podcast, consider signing up to our Patreon for the $15 tier. Before the show wraps up, I wanted to make an announcement that we'll be doing our hangout session at the end of the week on Friday. So if you are listening to this, that's going to be happening almost simultaneously while you're listening to it.
Yeah. Right now, it is very possible we are talking in the honorary Dad and Sons AMA Discord channel and also playing Valheim
simultaneously.
So jump on in. Or if not, come next month.
If you have the equipment, you could potentially listen to this audio recording of a podcast in one ear while also listening to live video game session hangouts in the other ear. Thanks for listening. Consider signing up for our hastily planned and casually broadcasted Patreon benefits. Also, we have t-shirts, socks, onesies, pajama onesies available at a TeePublic link.
Do we have socks? Don't spread that kind of information out there. You know that they're looking for those George socks.
I want some George socks.
If we do, I like them. and I just wanted to say that along with saying that I like you and I thank you for listening to our okay
George
podcast.
Is never gonna end.
This is not ending, and it's going weird.
This is rough.
I'm trying.
Is this really... like the end of the first date, George?
Buy my socks. You should say that on a date, George.
I like you, and
you are one of the only men in the world who can go on a date and say to somebody, "Buy my socks."
I don't think it'll work out any better there than it is here.
Would definitely wear your socks on the first date and show them. Yeah.
Do you like this face? Well, how about it duplicated multiple times
on my sock,
on my feet?
You can have that too. For the low price of $14.99.
Now put it in your mouth.
What?